Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Whew. Are you excited? Cause I'm excited. This is a video that I honestly never thought I would be able to make. But here we are. And I am beyond excited to bring you my full review of the Cold Steel... I've already messed up. Oh, I'm so nervous. Or not nervous, but excited. You know what I mean. This is the Demko Knives AD-20S. Before we go any further, this knife was loaned into the channel by Mike over at Sharpened Blade. Go check out his channel. He's a fantastic guy. He makes some really great content. And yeah, one day you'll see this knife on his channel. But thank you to Mike. Also thank you to Corey at Stafford's EDC. He's kind of the go-between between Mike and I. Mike, of course, in Canada and stuff. So also go check out Stafford's EDC. I'll link them both in the description. Both of them are fantastic human beings and have some pretty great content. All right, without any further ado, let's get into this review. Blade length on this guy. We're coming in at about 3.75 inches, almost 3 3/4 inches. Sharpened edge coming in about 3.5. Yeah, we'll get into the specs and stuff later. Okay, size comparisons. Here's our rats, starting with the 2 and the 1. So yeah, you guys know what's going on here. The AD-20 is a large knife. You can see here, similar in length to the Rat 1, but definitely a little bit taller. And then we'll talk about the thickness of this guy here in a little bit. Let's bring out our Civivis, just because tradition dictates. There we go. Let's go ahead and bring out our USA made size comparisons. There's a PM2 and the bug out. Yeah, the bug out's looking pretty shrimpy compared to this guy. Alrighty, and what else do we want to compare it against? I mean, this is a really cool knife to have on the channel, so I'm probably going to compare it against a lot of stuff. Let's bring out the AD-10 and the AD-15. These are both the cold steel versions. Gosh. My gosh, there is a lot of awesomeness going on this table right now. So yeah, overall length, we're very close to the AD-10 or the AD-15. The AD-10 is a pretty big knife. In fact, I would consider the AD-10 to be bigger than the 20 in most dimensions. Pretty cool there. We have the whole Demko family. Let's also compare it against the 20.5. We'll bring out both versions here just because obviously these two have the same blade shape. I think they call this a drop point. This is a clip point to me. It's a straight clip point. But there we go. Quite a bit larger than the 20.5s. These should have been the 19.5s, but you know, whatever. I'm not the person over there naming stuff. And I actually want to compare it as well against the Formax Scout and the Cold Steel Engage, because the Engage has an Atlas lock, which Cold Steel designed to kind of compete with the Shark lock. But yeah, okay, enough size comparisons. Hopefully if you guys don't like size comparisons, you just fast forwarded through all of that. I want to talk about this knife in this dimension. So this is the AD-20S, which stands for slim or skinny. I still didn't look that up, probably should have. But yeah, this is not as chunky as the full-size AD-20. And I think that's just in the blade. As far as I've heard, the handle is at least similarly thick, but the blade is quite a bit thinner. I've heard someone say that the thickness of the blade on the full size is comparable to the 4 Max. Again, I've never handled a full size one, so I don't know for sure, but hopefully that gives you a little, some idea. So materials here, G10, and the blade is, look down in there, D2. I don't really mind that. We'll talk about that later. This is, a USA made tank. Got the shark lock, of course. Yeah, just a crazy knife. All right, 6 minutes in. Let's go show the review cutting, show some just some random video footage I took. The review cutting is kind of interesting, but yeah, let's go do that. All right, guys, so we're going to be talking about the Demko AD-20S. And yes, it's snowing. Been working a little bit today using this knife, and got some thoughts to share. This looks like it could be on like a postcard or a calendar. I mean, look at that. Got the International Harvester in the snow. It's pretty picturesque, right? So, AD-20S. This has got to be one of my favorite work knives ever. Hands down, no competition. It's very easy to use. As you can see, I'm wearing gloves, brand new gloves I got for Christmas that are still breaking in. But, you can still manipulate it with gloves on, which is very important, especially right now during the winter time. You don't want to take your gloves off to operate your knife. You want to stay as bundled up as possible. So, that's pretty good. The size, too. It's a big knife. Like, there's no getting around that. It's a big knife. But, it's the slim. I find it to be very manageable. It's big enough to, have a good grip with gloves. You can index it really well. You've got enough blade for a lot of different tasks, whether you're cutting strings or you're breaking down long strips of cardboard or anything else that you might be doing. Today I was cutting lots of hay bales. So, it's what I got used for today. Great blade shape, the straight clip point. This is one of my favorite blade shapes ever. Very useful. You have some straight, you got some belly, you have a tip that's dropped down, you can do some drilling. Really, really useful. Jimping up here is great. And for such a big knife, I already kind of mentioned this, but the slicing capabilities are really, really impressive. I was using this to break down cardboard the other day. Very, very slicey. Yes, it's a little bit thick behind the edge, but the geometry is done really well. And it works. It really does just work. And yes, while it is big, I don't think it's prohibitive. Okay, I can't speak. Prohibitively big. And I kind of like my work knives to be big because, again, with gloves, it gives you something to grab onto. Shark lock is amazing. Honestly, I kind of feel like a broken record. Everyone's already said this knife is good. And, by the time my review comes out, everyone knows what this knife's about. I will try and record some more user footage, but it's hard to take out your camera and start recording in the middle of trying to do work. So I'm not sure how that'll go, but really enjoying this knife. Need to get these gloves broke in. Tried using them today to see if they'd break in. And the grip on the scales, that diamond texture, that's so good. one heck of a work knife. I mean, not even to mention the strength and durability of the shark lock. Just really, really fantastic. I'm not sure I have anything else to say. I was going to film this little thing. You know, I've been using the knife last couple of days, and I was like, oh, film a little update to throw in the review. And basically, I just spent 4 minutes saying, it's good. It's really good. And that's something you all knew, so stop wasting your time. When people talk about why you would need a folding knife that has a lock that's nearly indestructible, I think something that gets overlooked is having it around as a hiking or running knife. You know, if you're just going to be out for a little bit, having a folding knife that is as strong as a fixed blade can really be kind of important, because you can fold this up, put it in your backpack, and, you know, obviously you don't have a fixed blade, but you've got the strength somewhat equivalent to a fixed blade. Today, for example, I went on a little run, pretty winded, and it's cold. So I was wearing long pants, carried the 20S, pretty cool. I thought it worked out pretty well. Obviously I didn't really need it. I'm heading back now, but that is kind of a niche use that you could argue a folding tank of a knife could be useful, as long as it's not like exceedingly heavy or something. This is a big knife. It's fairly heavy, but it's not a brick. Lovely. It's raining. I was thinking about doing some review cutting later today. I still might. You know, if I ever need to make it rain somewhere, I should just plan on doing review cutting, because it seems to rain a lot when I try to do stuff like that. Gosh, that's pretty. I'll just risk it. Alrighty guys, the rain has more or less stopped falling. The wind is somewhat calming down, so we're going to go ahead and try to film the review cutting for the Demko AD-20S. I say just as the wind picks up. Maybe we won't get any filming done. Let's go ahead and try. So, yes, we have the AD-20S. I'll tell you what, this is a Grail level knife if I've ever seen one. So, maybe it's fitting that we're doing this in a storm, because this is a god tier knife. So we've got the power of God with us here today. Whoo, mama. I didn't have to call it quits. Would have been a gorgeous backdrop for such a video. I mean, very thematic, very, very fitting, but yeah, it's blowing a little bit, so you know what? We're gonna give it we'll see if this clears out. Well guys, unfortunately, I think we're gonna call it quits. It's just getting darker and darker. Yeah. No review cutting today. I'm sad. This is like my last chance to get some review cutting done before I get busy. You know what? The wind's not too bad right now. It might be the calm before the storm. Maybe we should try it. Alright, we're going to try this again. Yep, the mountains behind us are disappearing. Looks like we just got some flat plateaus and buttes behind us, but yeah, they should go up higher. Anyways, let's go ahead, talk about this knife. I've got a jacket on now. We're prepared, we're good to go. So, this version of the Demko AD-20S has D2 steel. Beautiful stone wash. Like I was saying, grail-worthy knife for sure. This thing's a tank, but it cuts really good in my experience. And I think that'll be demonstrated throughout our testing today. So, let's start off that action. The action's fantastic. This is one of the most fidgety, hard-use knives ever, bar none. Ergonomics, it's a Demko design. It fits your hand like a glove. It's fantastic. No complaints at all. Got great finger grooves, great placement. It's fat enough to be comfortable. That's what I like to see. Alright, let's see how it carries. This is the standard Demko clip. Reversible, or you can get a new clip. So that's awesome, full ambi. Goes into the pocket good. It's not deep carry, but on a knife like this, I wouldn't want it to be deep carry anyways. It's easy to get in and out. Even with the diamond texturing on the scales, I don't think it's too much of a pocket ripper. It will tear up your pocket over time, but I don't think it's terrible. Oh, why do I do the things I do? You know what? All this cardboard and crap is going to blow everywhere, but that's okay. That's okay. I'll pick it all up. Got an Amazon box here. So yeah, this knife, I wouldn't call it thin behind the edge, but it is the AD-20 Slim. So the blade is not as thick as the Big Daddy version. As a result, I think it cuts just fine. No problem there. Alright, let's go ahead and grab our rope. Woo! Now I think it's probably going to do pretty good on this crunch through test as well. Fantastic. Beautiful. Beautifully well done. Beautifully well done. Grab our pieces of stuff here. Alright, let's grab the pool noodle. I'm curious to see how this does. This is the factory edge. I have been using this knife a lot, but it's been holding up really good, especially for D2. There's a trucker that pulled over just over there. Looked like he was having some issues. It is about to storm, so maybe he was just putting. All right. Guys, this is what I'm always saying. Look, that felt amazing. And we got nice little Cheerios out of that. Look how thin that one is. Pretty good. All right. The rain has arrived. The wind is gone, but now we've got the rain here. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and stop there. The audio might be terrible. I might have to redo all this, but if not, let's get back to the table. And we are back. Ah, oh, gosh, look at it. Look at it. Isn't it just spectacular? Oh man. Let's go ahead and get into my likes and dislikes, my pros and my cons. Number one, I love that this is in my hands right now. This is a legendary knife. This is definitely my grail. Ideally, I would want maybe one that has the slot in the blade, either this blade shape or the spear point type, blue scales. Yeah, man, it's just, thinking about that just makes my mouth water. yeah, it's quite the experience to hold this knife. I'm not sure how to explain it, but hopefully a lot of you know what I'm trying to get at. Like when I took this out of the box, just holding it gave me that abstract sense of satisfaction and wonder that certain objects of great significance give you, right? This knife, I never thought I would handle one of these, or at least, you know, it'd be a while. You know, I'm a broke college student. I don't get to handle a whole lot of fancy things like this. And, you know, this is a knife that's right up my alley. It's a hard use folder. I love that type of stuff. Yeah, we're going to move away from the abstract now. Okay, next thing, made in the USA. Love that. You know, I'm American. I'm pretty patriotic, so love that. Okay, let's just talk about the action. Oh, geez. This knife is so satisfying. Flicking this and flipping this is fantastic. I love the thumb studs. They work really, really well. Fantastic thumb studs. The Shark Lock, we all know and love it. It's super strong, but super fidgety. Really, really great to play with. The sounds this thing makes. Oh, it sounds so good. Oh, that lockup, it's just, it's fantastic. You know, you usually don't get a knife that is this overbuilt and still have it be fidgety, right? That doesn't happen very often. And so holding a knife that does that is immensely satisfying. It's a very unique experience, so I really like that. Next thing, I love this jimping on the top. At first, I thought that the jimping looked a little bit shallow and rounded, and for, you know, hard use, heavy duty knife, I'd want it to be pretty sharp to grab, you know, to get traction whether I'm barehanded or wearing gloves. But it actually works out really well. You can see here that's kind of a two-staged jimping. We've got a big channel, and then on either side are two smaller channels. Works out really well. It extends a good length along the blade, and yeah, it's got good traction. Really, really like that. Next thing, the ergonomics on this are just fantastic. It's an Andrew Demko design. He's a master of ergonomics. Everything about this knife is where it needs to be comfortable. You can choke up into here, very comfortable. It's nice and thick, which on a work knife, I think that's a necessity. It needs to be hand filling. The 20.5 just isn't hand filling, and so it never felt to me like a fantastic work knife. Even though it definitely would do the trick, but it just didn't have the same feeling. I like, you know, you can either have your thumb here on the lock, or you can get up over that. It works out really, really nicely. The edges here on the G10 are chamfered and rounded, so there's not, you know, like sharp edges or anything. The clip disappears in my hand. I love this clip. For a hard use knife, I don't care about deep carry. You know, I want to be able to grab the knife even with gloves on. The thing that's most important to me on a work knife is clip retention and not being able to feel it in the hand. And this clip disappears in my hand. I love this clip. I've heard some people say they think it's ugly, you know, stuff like that. I love this clip. I think it's fantastic. I'm also kind of a weirdo. I love this clip on the AD-15. I've heard a lot of people say they don't like it. I love this clip. You just got to sand down that texture under there a little bit. This clip kind of looks weird, but again, it disappears in the hand. I have bent mine out a little bit just so it's not super tight. Works great. Yeah. The next thing about the clip is even though you have this diamond textured G10, it doesn't feel super pocket rippy. Over time, of course, you'll wear some frayed pocket seams, but you know, it's pretty nice, goes in and out of the pocket very, very easily. I love this diamond texturing. It's fantastic, very grippy, but not super aggressive. Really, really nice there. The ergonomics on this thing are just a home run all the way around. Pocket clip's pretty good. This knife is fully ambidextrous. That's awesome. You know, you get another clip you can pop on the other side. Love that. Next thing, the small details here. We already talked about the jimping, but I really do love this pivot collar type thing. Demko knives, and over here, Wampum, Pennsylvania, PA. That's Pennsylvania, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Looks really, really great. I love the looks of the back of this knife. I love those kind of grooved standoffs. Focus up here, camera. I love the back of this knife looks very nice to me. Very, very nice. I love the jimping on the shark lock. To me, it's not. It's a little bit softened when you compare it to the jimping on the 20.5s. But it might also be that this is bigger. You know, this is quite a bit thicker than this one, so it might just be that there's more surface area for your finger to grab on, so it's not. It doesn't feel quite as pokey. But love that. Fit and finish on this thing is fantastic, by the way. Really nothing to complain about. Great fit and finish. We already talked about the action stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about this blade. This is an amazing work blade. Amazing. Great stonewash. Gosh, I love that stonewash. And the D2 steel, I don't really mind. And it's held up great. Mike, if you're watching, so I've been using this knife. I did review cutting. I've done just breaking down cardboard and stuff. I did work on the ranch with it, going through rope, going through some feed sacks, going through some zip ties. You know, just trying to test this knife as much as I can. Have not touched the edge, and it's still very, very sharp. I'll give it a little bit of a once over before I send it back to you, Mike. Make sure it's in tip-top shape. But this D2, it was fantastic. It comes with a great edge, kind of a coarse, not really a coarse edge, but a little bit toothy. It's not like super toothy, but it's got a little bit of a bite to it, which I think that's the best way to do D2. Obviously, this D2 is going to be a lot better than, like, for example, the D2 on this thing, because, you know, Andrew Demko, when he's building this, when the Demko brothers are building this, they can make sure that D2 is where it needs to be. Not a full flat grind, and so this thing is a little bit chonky behind the edge. I haven't taken a measurement of it because I don't really think I need to, and also broken calipers. But it works amazingly. This blade is not super thick. We can see that there. If we compare that to, I mean, let's even grab out the AD-15. Not super thick. And as you guys saw in my review cutting, it cut really, really well. This is something that I always try and get across when I review a knife like this. Behind the edge reading does not always equate to whether it's a good cutter or not. This knife is a lot thicker behind the edge than, well, let's bring out this knife, the Devo Knives Growler. This is a lot thinner behind the edge than this is. If you'll remember from the review of this guy when we did the review cutting, he did not do very well on the pool noodle. And that was because from the factory, his edge was, you know, pretty wonky. I have fixed that up. Now it has a nice, beautiful edge, and it cuts a lot better. But more important than behind the edge thickness is edge geometry and blade geometry as a whole. And this knife has really excellent blade and edge geometry. This is the type of knife that I would absolutely love to use out on the ranch, out in the woods, all day, every day. It's an absolute beast. Very sturdy blade, but it still cuts. We had a pizza party me and some friends. And afterwards, I use this to break down all the pizza boxes and, tie them up, bundle them up and stuff. And I was just amazed at how slicey this thing was. It was just going through them like butter. And through my testing, out on the ranch, crunching through zip ties. You put it on there and pop, the zip tie's gone. Cutting pallet straps, done. Then I'd go and break down some cardboard. We have feed sacks that will unload from pallets, and there's this big thing of cardboard underneath. Good thing to take that and put it in the trash, recycling, whatever. It's probably 6 foot by 6. Well, what's a pallet? 4 foot by 4 foot sometimes, 5 by 5. Break that down, super, super slicey. Breaking ropes down, cutting ropes, slicey. Hay string, slice right through it. Just a fantastic all-around user blade shape and just grind in general. So I love the blade. Fantastic blade. If I were to get one of these, which one day I'll save up and get one of these, I'd go for a skinny. Again, I've never tested the full size. I'm sure it's okay, but from the use I've done with this thing, it's absolutely fantastic. It's amazing. It's amazing. And as someone who has used a lot of really big, hard use knives and who enjoys them, I take this out in the woods when I'm cowboying and stuff a lot, and I love that knife. But this did outperform the AD-15. The AD-15 is a great knife, and it performs very, very well. But this, if I had to give them letter grades on, in terms of hard use folders, AD-15, I would give an A, probably a 95. I would give this probably damn near close to a perfect score, probably like a 98, 99 or something. Really, really great. It's easy to use with gloves, and it's easy to manipulate in the cold and everything. It's not super heavy. That's another thing I want to talk about. We don't have full steel liners in there. It's just G10, but it feels solid. It cuts down on the weight a lot. This is a perfect work knife, in my opinion. If you don't mind carrying something that's a little bit big. I'm not going to lie to you and say that, this is, easier to carry than, a PM2, for example, but it's pretty close. I think you could adjust to this no problem. And I would absolutely carry it. This is easier to carry, I would say, than this knife. It's easier to carry than my 4MAX Scout. And this is a knife that I carry a lot. This knife does carry a lot better than it should, but still, this one does carry better. That lock, I have complete faith in that it'd be very, very strong. Obviously, I didn't do any destruction tests with this because, it's Mike's knife and it's very expensive. But from just the use that I did with it, I'm super impressed. I am absolutely, absolutely in love. It's a nearly perfect knife, in my opinion. And not even to mention the hardware. We've got good hardware on here. I like that. Just to remind myself, I'm pretty sure it's T10 with T8s. Let me test the hardware again, just to make sure I'm not lying to you guys. Let's grab what we got here. There's a T8. Yeah, it might even be T9. There was a little bit of wiggle there. Let's go ahead and try it. T9. No, it is T8. T9 doesn't quite fit. Let's see what the pivot is. Yeah, the pivot's going to be a T10. Pretty sure. Yeah, T10. I just want to make sure I'm not lying to you guys. But yeah, great hardware. Yeah, just a fantastic knife. What are my complaints? I only really have one complaint with this knife, and that's that I cannot at this time afford it. That's nothing to complain about, guys. This knife is... Look, this is the most expensive knife we've ever reviewed on the Gideon Stuff channel, and I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say it's the most perfect knife we've ever reviewed. Granted, it's perfect for a certain type of person. If, like, I'm back at school. I'm not going to be carrying this around. It hurts my heart, but, I've got better knives for that now. I know, downgrades, right? I just don't carry the same things when I'm, in the city. But out in the woods, on the ranch, this is probably, this is a perfect hard use folder. I'm going to say it right now. The AD-20S is the perfect hard use folder that all others should be compared against. I really have no complaints. Mike, even, he told me, he sent me a message. He's like, hey, you'll probably get more use out of that than I will. I'll sell it to you. And, I was so tempted. I can't afford it right now, but I was so tempted to just, empty my bank account, be like, okay, whatever, I'll starve for a couple of weeks. I won't pay any of my schooling for a little bit. I'll just buy this. It is a really impressive knife. And one day I will own one. That's about it. I mean, what else can I say? This is a perfect knife. I wish I could have spent more time with it out in the woods. I only had it for a couple of weeks to test on the ranch. I'm glad I did the testing I did. But, this is definitely a knife that, this is definitely a fantastic companion knife if you're a hard use type of guy. And I'll be 100% honest, when I do get one of these, it might be the end of me reviewing any other hard use knives on the channel, because it would probably take the place of everything I would normally carry. Right now, my favorite hard use folder, and probably my favorite knife ever, is the AD-15. Fantastic knife. Love this thing with all my heart. But if I got one of these, it would absolutely replace it. It's that good. It is that good. So, does it get a Gideon Stuff recommendation? Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, hell yes. 100%. Are they expensive? Yeah. What do I think about D2 being that expensive? You know what? I don't even freaking care. Like I said, the D2 did fine. It performed absolutely well. Absolutely well, that sounds wrong. It performed great. You can also, if there's anything about this knife you don't like, I don't like black scales, you can get one that doesn't have black scales. I don't like the blade shape. They make multiple blade shapes. They've done multiple steels too. I know they did a round in M4. That'd be really awesome. I probably would prefer the M4 over D2, but I'm happy with the D2 as well. So beautiful, beautiful piece of craftsmanship. This really, it's innovation meets practicality. It's just a handful of badass, and I absolutely love it. This is probably my favorite knife. In fact, it's my favorite knife I've ever handled. I cannot recommend it enough. And if I don't stop talking now, I'm just going to yammer on and on and on until I forget what words are, and then I'm just going to be sitting here grunting like a caveman. Which, we all know I'm already a caveman, but, Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.